Today, we're diving into a fascinating paradox from ancient wisdom that pretty much flips our whole idea of success on its head. It's this incredible mental puzzle that asks a really strange question. What if winning, what if true achievement, means realizing you've achieved nothing at all? Let's get into it. So picture this. You've worked your entire life for one single goal. You've poured everything into it, and then you finally get there. You've won. And in that exact moment of triumph, you turn around and say, I've accomplished absolutely nothing. I mean, it sounds completely nuts, right? But this is the exact logic we're here to unpack today. Okay, so to get our heads around this, we kind of need a map. In early Buddhism, the path to enlightenment wasn't just this one giant leap. Nope, it was more like a structured climb, a spiritual ladder with very clear steps. This path has these 4 major milestones, and they're often called the 4 fruits. You can think of them as stages of slowly letting go of all the stuff that ties us down, all the confusion of the world. Each fruit you attain means you're at a deeper level of freedom. So let's walk through them real quick. First up, you have the stream enterer. This is that first big aha moment, a profound insight where you get a real glimpse of the ultimate truth. It's like stepping into a powerful river current that you just know is going to carry you all the way to the ocean of enlightenment. It breaks you free from some of the most basic ingrained attachments. Next on the ladder is the once returner. At this point, a person's connection to that endless cycle of rebirth has gotten way, way weaker. They're now destined to come back to the human world just one more time before they hit full liberation. They're almost there. Then we get to stage 3, the non-returner. And, well, just like the name says, this person has snipped the last major threads connecting them to worldly desire. They won't be reborn as a human again. Their journey is going to wrap up in a much higher, more subtle place. And that brings us to the very top, the summit, the Arhat. This is a fully enlightened being. All the inner static, all the negativity, it's gone. They've finished the path, and they are totally free from the cycle of suffering and rebirth. This is the ultimate goal, the whole shebang. So we have our ladder. Pretty straightforward, right? You climb the rungs, you get the fruit, you win the prize. But this is where things get really interesting and kind of weird. In a famous text called the Diamond Sutra, there's this conversation that just turns this whole simple idea completely on its head. The Buddha poses this series of questions to his disciple, a guy named Subhūti. He starts with that very first stage we talked about. He asks, would a stream enterer actually think to themselves, yes, I did it. I have attained the fruit of a stream enterer. And Subhūti's answer? It's a hard no. His reasoning is just brilliant. A true stream enterer has let go of grabbing onto ideas, including the idea of entering a stream or attaining a fruit. You see, the second you think, I've got it, well, that's the very proof that you haven't. So the Buddha keeps going. He moves up to the next rung on the ladder. What about a once returner? Surely someone at this more advanced stage, they'd recognize their own progress, and they'd think, okay, I have now achieved the state of a once returner. And again, Subhūti says, nope. Not going to happen. His logic here gets even deeper. He basically says that for a real once returner, concepts like coming and going are seen as illusions, so they wouldn't identify with a label that's built on those very illusions. Okay, so you can probably see the pattern here, right? But the Buddha, he pushes it all the way to the absolute limit. He asks about the highest levels. What about a non-returner? Or what about a fully perfected Arhat, someone who's reached the final goal? Could they think, I have achieved Arhatship? And this is the absolute heart of the paradox. Subhūti says, no way, Lord, because the instant an Arhat thinks, hey, I did it, I am an Arhat, they've fallen right back into the trap. They're clinging to the idea of a self, an I that does the attaining. And that clinging is the very last thing that enlightenment is meant to dissolve.
So what on earth is going on here? All of these strange answers, they all point to one single fundamental concept. One obstacle that's standing in the way of any real attainment.
The entire problem, the whole trap, it all comes down to one single, tiny, but incredibly sticky idea, the concept of I, the ego. That sense we all have of a permanent, separate self that does things, achieves things, owns things, and defines itself by its list of accomplishments. So this is the absolute key to the whole thing. True attainment isn't about an I getting something. It's about the I just dissolving, fading away. That desire to plant a flag on the summit and shout, I made it, Well, that's the very last, most sneaky attachment that actually keeps you from ever truly reaching the peak. The sutra gets really specific about this. It actually lays out 4 particular ideas of self that you have to let go of. The belief in a separate self, a distinct person, an individual living being, and a soul that has some kind of fixed timeline. These are all just different flavors of the same illusion of I. And real freedom means seeing through every single one of them. Okay, I know this can feel super abstract, right? So let's bring it down to earth with a real-world story from the Buddhist time, featuring his wisest disciple, a man named Shariputra. Now, what kick-started Shariputra's entire journey was this one simple teaching. When he heard it, he had this sudden, massive realization that nothing exists all on its own. Everything, including his own sense of self, is just a part of this endless, interconnected flow of cause and effect. But here's the real kicker. The Buddha would constantly praise Sariputra, calling him the wisest of them all. But according to the stories, Sariputra himself had zero sense of being better than anyone else or of having achieved anything. He was so immersed in the truth that the part of him that would pat itself on the back, well, it just wasn't there anymore. Now, believe it or not, this ancient idea has a really powerful echo in a place you might not expect, a much more modern and probably more familiar piece of wisdom. Let's just compare Shariputra's worldview with one of the most famous lines in all of Western literature. On one side, you've got Hamlet, who is completely tortured by the I. His question, to be or not to be, is the ultimate crisis of the ego. Should I exist or not? But then you look at Shariputra. His statement goes beyond the self completely. There is no I agonizing over its own existence, just this calm, serene acceptance of the natural flow of things. He isn't trying to solve the question of the self, he's free from the question itself. And that really brings us back to, well, us. In our world, a world that is so obsessed with goals and metrics and personal brands, this ancient paradox feels more relevant than ever. It's an invitation to think about a totally different way of being. It's not about not trying anymore, but maybe about questioning who it is that's doing all the trying. What could we really accomplish? What could we become if we just let go of the need to be the one achieving it?